pretty late in the night, but this is what you need. Talking to you guys, what you need in the building. So, for a lot of you don't can't see me, can't see the image of me, I'm gonna just do like this so you can see. Kell Brook versus Terence Crawford. I'm not gonna make a prediction on this fight because I was not. There are two things I noticed. I wasn't able to see the training sessions of Kell Brook, so I don't know what he has up his sleeve. And I wasn't able to see the training sessions of Terence Crawford, so I was not able to really tell you guys what them guys look like and what their preparations for the fight would look like. Um, this is the first time Kell Brook will be back at welterweight after facing Errol Spence Jr. However, he had two other fights in which he fought Michael Zarafa, who's a very competent, skilled boxer. Is a guy who actually beat Jeff Horn at 160, I believe it was. And he fought Michael Zarafa at a catch weight, I think, at 152. Michael Zarafa is a competent boxer. I hear people talking about he's a go-go dancer and all that, strip dancer, whatever. Listen, man, listen. Y'all tripping. The man's competent. He fought Peter Quillen. Peter Quillen knocked him out eventually, but he's cagey, he's slippery. You know, it was a good test for Kell. Kell moving up to 154. And then he had a second fight at 154 and got the guy out of there. So Kell's getting up to speed, and then now 147. He's going back down to 147. Had enough time to recoup from his eye injuries. I don't think his eye injuries are going to be a factor in this fight. This is just my personal opinion because the way how a fracture heals up. So let's say you damage this eye orbital here, right? When this heals up, it's stronger. Errol damaged the next eye orbital because it overcompensated for this reinforced eye orbital here. Now that that's healed up, I'm pretty sure Kell Brook will not have any problems with his eye orbitals, at least. Okay. Kell had several injuries from the stabbings to the bicep injuries, etc. But everybody's looking at how shredded he is. It's not how shredded he is because he's losing weight, obviously. So he'll look shredded because he's losing weight. He's a big, obviously a big. He's a big. Sorry about that, folks. He's a big welterweight, So it's expected. I don't know why this is happening. This fucking reflux, man. It's really annoying. So it's expected that he would there we go. It's expected that he would have problems making weight. But it seems as though he may be able to make the weight properly. If that's the case, when he rehydrates, and he rehydrates up to the size he is, he's a massive welterweight. Jeff Horn was awkward. Didn't really have a lot of power. Was a messy kind of fighter, right? And we saw what Tim Tszyu did to him. We saw what Terence Crawford did to him. And probably Keith Thurman, all the other elite welterweights would have done to him. Kell Brook's a different caliber of opponent. He's different to Amir Khan. He's different to all the other guys. Kell Brook's a quality guy. If you look at it, Kell Brook has been fighting guys bigger than him, or at least bigger than the welterweight limit, which shows you what kind of fighter Kell Brook is. So this Kell Brook is not a guy you just sleep on. My thing was that Kell Brook used to fade in the middle rounds. Now, from what he's saying from his training, he was saying that he has more stamina and so on, and more better conditioning now, so that he can go longer in a fight. 12 rounds. Now, could be just talk. I don't know. I can't be certain to tell you what it is because I haven't seen Kell Brook train. I've seen little snippets of him training, and he really looked good. He looked sharp. He looked good. And Kell brings a lot of things to the table. Very finely tuned, elite, classical trained guy. My thing with Kell Brook, from what I knew of him, I have not seen him as of late, so I can't really say. But he had a history of in the middle rounds getting hit to the body. Even Sean Porter was able to hit him to the body. And he locks you up. He's a big, strong dude. He got work to the body. Now, a lot of people talk about the Carson Jones incident with Carson Jones. Carson Jones make everybody fight, first of all. Second of all, that fight was a coming of age fight because the second fight, he dusted Carson Jones. So if everybody's just focusing on the Carson Jones fight, Sean Porter is a much better fighter than Carson Jones. We all know this. And he gave Sean Porter a hell of a fight. I mean, he was able to convince the judge that he won the fight. Classy guy. Clinched a lot, though. With Terence Crawford has grown into a full-fledged welterweight. He's strong. We know he's a switch hitter. So is Kell Brook. Kell Brook can match him for switch hitting. Kell Brook's much more precise. Kell Brook's much sharper than Terence Crawford, in my opinion. Terence Crawford's more rubbery, more elastic. You can see Kell's much more schooled, very precise, very accurate puncher. Got really good power. You know, to get your attention with his power. I mean, he got Gennady Golovkin's attention with his power, so he has good power, and he's very accurate. The only thing is, Kell Brook doesn't really go to the body that much. Even in his fight against Errol Spence, he wasn't going to the body much, so that's a disadvantage for Kell. He's a good fighter when it comes to honing in and hitting you on the head and stuff, but he don't really land a lot of body punches, so that's something. His pivot work is incredible. He has really good pivot work. This is a good test for Bud to see how he would handle it. Errol Spence. Errol Spence is another huge welterweight. Very strong welterweight and getting sharp. But Errol Spence is a lot sharper than Kell Brook is. Kell Brook's very sharp. And the other thing with Kell Brook, he's got really good timing. And timing beats speed, any day, any time. So we'll see how Terence handles Kell Brook if he gets past Kell Brook. Some people are thinking he could stop Kell Brook. See, the thing with Kell Brook right now, I'm watching also the interviews and his body language, and I can't really say. Sometimes his body language looks like he's rolling the die, but obviously nobody knows what will happen on fight night. You can only just be as prepared as you can be, and then it is what it is, right? It'll be what it'll be. And I think that Kell Brook, I'm just watching his body language. It doesn't really mean much of anything. I think the weigh-in will tell me a little something. The weigh-in will tell me a little something. If he makes weight, and I guess I'll have to wait till almost the night of the fight to see what he looks like rehydrated. I think that's the key, because I think the key in this whole fight is going to come down to weight. If Kell can handle the weight cut, he could give Bud a run for his money. He could really give him a run for his money, and it could come down to Kell Brook actually winning the fight and Bud getting the decision. It could happen like that. It could actually go down like that. Now, a couple things for people to understand. Kell Brook is not a top 10 ranked welterweight at this present point in time. Is he a classy, really good, well-conditioned, skilled fighter? Absolutely. Would he have been a top 10 fighter if he stayed more active and he could have overcome his injuries? Absolutely. But he wasn't campaigning at welterweight, first of all. He was campaigning at super welterweight. He had 2 fights since the Errol Spence loss. Of course, he was whooping Errol Spence's ass at first. And then, of course, Errol was able to work the body. And basically, he was breaking down Kell Brook. He was beating him up. The eye injury was just the icing on the cake. But Errol's going to get him out of there. Even without the eye injury. Probably might have made... It might have went 12 rounds. Might have went 12 rounds, but... My thing is, the eye injury was just the icing on the cake, right? Can Terence do the same? We don't know. We don't know. I know Terence is a full-fledged welterweight right now. He's grown into the division. So we'll see. I don't know. But my thing is, can Terence Crawford get the W? That's the first thing. Let's see if he can get the W on Kell Brook. People excited for this fight. I'm not as excited because I always said, well, why doesn't Terence just face Kell Brook? All right, that's a solid welterweight, and he's finally doing so. So, that's cool. Um, there's a couple of things. Kell Brook is not bringing Dominic Ingle with him. Dominic Ingle is the guy that gets all the wins for Kell. It looks out for him very well. So that's going to be interesting. And also, you know, a lot of people feel that Kell's trying to get the big fights, the big money fights, and just the moves that Kell Brook has made makes me wonder if this is the last hurrah he's trying to go for or what. So I'm not quite sure exactly. Kell Brook is 34 years of age. I don't think that's going to be a factor too much in this fight. I think he's basically don't got much wear and tear on him for the last 2 years when he was facing the last two opponents. He didn't really have much wear and tear on him. He went the distance with Zarafa, which was good experience for him. Pull off the win, didn't look that great. Second fight, he got the guy out of there. So he looks good. He's not at the top of the game, but he looks good. So we'll see how he gets in there with Terence Crawford. That's a named guy. That's a name known in boxing. He was at the pinnacle of the sport in his division, the pinnacle of his division, back in 2000. I think it was 15 or 16. He was the number one welterweight in the world. So all of these things, show that Kell was. I thought Kell was going to be one of the guys that run the division. I thought it was going to be him, Thurman, Porter, and Bradley at a certain point in time, and then I thought, when Spence declared his position, dethroning Kell, it became Spence, Porter, Thurman. Garcia came up in there. Timothy Bradley left the game. Pacquiao's still around. So that's basically the guys that run the division right now with Terence Crawford. So we'll see. I mean, I don't really have much information to go by, and a lot of people are high on Terence Crawford, so I understand. I'm not going to pick against Terence Crawford. I'm not going to do that necessarily. I'll have to see him get beat for me to decide that. But one thing that is a fact is Terence Crawford has never faced a guy like Kell Brook in his career. If Kell Brook is, if he's able to make the weight and come in there healthy, at least healthy enough so he can implement what he is trained to do, should be an interesting fight. It should be an interesting fight. It'd be one, that turns out interesting. He still wouldn't be one of the top tier guys, but he was a top tier guy. So based on that, I thought Kell Brook was always going to be a solid fight for Terence Crawford and a gauge to see where he's at. And we'll see. Now, like I said before, I need more data because I don't have any data on Kell Brook. And I just can watch him from his last couple of fights, and he looked pretty good in his most recent fight. He looked very good in that one. Terence Crawford is a guy. He's got a very long reach. One, two. He's a switch hitter. He could go to the body. He can go to the head. He uses good footwork. You know, can Kell Brook match him for tools? Absolutely. A lot of people confident that Kell Brook would beat Terence Crawford, even though the odds are kind of evening out. Some people thinking he could pull the upset. I can't say because I haven't seen him training. If I could see some footage of Kell Brook training, then I'd probably be able to tell you what's going on, what kind of game plan they have, that kind of thing. I personally don't know if Kell Brook mentally thinks he can even beat Terence Crawford. That's how iffy the situation is. But that's all I got for now. I'm gonna tell y'all I can't say. The last time Kell Brook came to America and fought, he beat Sean Porter and pulled the upset that nobody expected. So, we just don't know. I know Kell Brook will put Terence Crawford through some tests. Can Terence Crawford pass those tests? That's the question. Um, we'll have to wait and see. I know Terence Crawford fights sometimes engaging himself too much. Benavidez was a good test for him. He thought, Benavidez though wasn't, he wasn't on the level of a Kell Brook or anything. So Kell Brook's probably going to be, at least on paper, he is Terence Crawford's biggest test of his career so far. It's not saying much, but it is still something. So let's see how he handles that. Styles make fights, and we'll see how it all is handled. I'm what you need. You were watching my channel. I hope you guys enjoy this. Don't forget you can like, subscribe, share, and donate for our Western Union. I'm MoneyGram. I'm out of here. Peace.